My next guest will face William Knight on September the 1st for Dana White's Contender Series. And of course, it is Cody Brundage himself. Cody, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's my pleasure. I'm excited for this fight, man. I love all of the Contender Series fights, but really, this matchup with you and William is really exciting, especially with both you guys having as much power as you do. How has this camp been thus far? I know you just made the move to Factory X. How are you feeling leading up to the big fight?
It's been great. This is the first camp in my career that I've actually got to train full time. All my other camps, I was working a full time job and then would go train at night. So that's been the big change. And then obviously coming to Factory X, training at elevation with guys like Anthony Smith, Dustin Jacoby, Zach Cummins. The competition's been up another level. I've been taking my lumps for sure, and I'm ready to pay it back on September 1st.
I hear so many fighters that are making the move to Colorado to train at elevation just because of what it does for your cardio. Was that a big reason as to why you made the decision to go out there?
It was a reason, but I mean the biggest reason was when I came out here. Like I said, the guys I'm training with are just kind of giving me the work, and I'm not used to that in my career. I'm pretty young in my career, but I've always had a lot of success at the gym I'm at, and I always said, like, if you're the biggest dog in the room, you got to find another room. So when I went out there and trained, the elevation was definitely great, but also just the fact that, Mark Montoya, Coach Mark, really kind of just took us in as family. There was never any, like, weird, I felt like I was on the outside. That never happened. I've got tons of work with great partners, and it really does feel like a family out there. We care about each other. We want each other to be successful. So I think, training-wise and, the other side of things, that it was a close-knit group and they care about each other was really what sold me on Factory X.
Yeah, well, that really is one of the better gyms in the country here for your MMA training. So that's really awesome that you made the move out there. As far as like your main training partners go for this camp, who have been like the main one or two guys you've been getting most of the work in with?
So before Dustin's fight, it was me and Dustin a lot. And then obviously, he got cut up and he's kind of coming back off that fight. He got the contract, which was great. But Anthony Smith and I have worked together pretty much the whole camp. Like I said, he pulled me in under his wing and just kind of showed me the ropes and helped me a lot. And he's definitely given me my licks, but it's all been kind of like a big brother role. He's helped me a lot, and I appreciate him. He's going to actually corner me for my fight, which I'm looking forward to. And yeah, he's been probably my main training partner. I got lots of guys here, though. I got Zach Cummins, who's a killer. And then just other guys, too, that people don't know about necessarily, like Josh Fremd or Austin Jones, both guys who, they take rounds from UFC fighters. And just because they're not on Contender or they're not fighting in the UFC right now, like, you'll hear about these guys, I promise. Every round I fight is a tough fight. And I tell people, they ask me, they're like, what are you looking forward to most about your fight? And it's that it's not Friday sparring at my gym.
That's a good point. Yeah, this has got to do a lot of wonders for your confidence, right? I mean, even though you're taking these licks, like you're saying, in training, I mean, but it's got to make you feel even that much more prepared going into the fight.
Oh, definitely, for sure. I've busted it, and I've gotten my licks, but just being able to compete and hang with those guys, and I steal rounds, I win some rounds too, and I push them, and that, like you said, yeah, it's huge for my confidence, knowing going into my fight that fight night's going to be easy compared to training.
Now, you've known about this Contender Series fight for a while now. Obviously, the pandemic ended up pushing it. It was supposed to be in July, correct?
Right. July 21st, I believe, yeah.
And so with the pandemic and everything, how did that affect your training? I did see an interview you did fairly recently, and you were with your wife, and you were just talking about how it has affected just your day-to-day life. Where you're at right now, are things starting to normalize a little bit?
So there was a short time there. I fought in February. My wife was actually scheduled to fight in May, so I was going to try to fight right after her again. And then obviously COVID came, shut everything down. But yeah, it shut me down for a little bit. But my gym in Michigan, when I was there, Scorpion Fighting System, they reopened pretty quick. They didn't really listen too well to the guidelines. They said, our coach did a lot of research. He's like, this is just, I'm not losing my dream, my business, basically. And so I got to train pretty regularly there. And then since I've been out here for 10 weeks, Factory X has just been running smooth as usual. So I wasn't affected too much. The time that I did have where I didn't have a gym to go to, I had a home gym in my garage at my house. I had wrestling mats put out. Obviously, I had my wife to train with every day. But there wasn't too long that I was doing that. It was only a couple of weeks. And then, like I said, I think it's a huge advantage because I see guys that can't get in their gym, they can't get in with their training partners, and I hate it for them. But for me, you know, I've been very fortunate that my training has probably increased and gotten better throughout this pandemic.
Wow, no, that's great to hear. As far as Amanda goes, what is next for her? Is there any fights potentially lined up here soon?
So when we moved out here, uh, the day our first official day here was also our 1 year anniversary from our wedding, and we figured out we were pregnant. So we're expecting a baby in February, baby Brundage coming in February. And it was funny because our manager, she was getting UFC offers, like short notice offers, and she's like, "Hey guys, I can't do it." And they're like, "What's up? Like your weight high or what's going on?" She's like, "No, I'm pregnant." So right now she's just focusing on that and supporting me. And then once she has this baby in February, I think she's going to try to come back and make a comeback for fighting. You know, she's still young, and I mean, she's a killer, dude. Watching her train and seeing the way she works is inspirational to me. You know, that's been a big reason why I've been so successful, is because I have that partner that pushes harder than anyone I know.
Oh, for sure. Well, congratulations. That's fantastic to hear. I didn't see any of that on social media. Have you guys shared that, or has that been kind of quiet?
Just recently, like in the last maybe 2-3 weeks. Mm-hmm. She shared it, yeah.
Okay, well, again, congratulations. That's fantastic. That's what it's all about right there. Adding on to the family, so that's wonderful news. Now, you know, you're 5-0 as a professional. Your amateur career, you were 4-2, so you were still like having a lot of success even then. But when you look back to those 2 losses that you suffered, I know to Dalton Rasta and Brian Battle, where do you feel like you really started to turn a corner in your skill set and in your career?
I think every fight I get a lot better. I think as an amateur, I wasn't this guy who wanted to go be 12-0 as an amateur and have all the belts. And, you know, I thought my amateur career was where I would test myself super hard. And I did. I mean, if you look at the guys I fought, Dalton Rosa is arguably the toughest fight I've had in my amateur or pro career. You know, that guy is 3-0 in Bellator, all finishes. And we had a really close fight. You know, he finished me in the 3rd round, but going into the 3rd round, it was a 1-1 fight. And I don't know, I was up at 205 for that one as well. And yeah, I think I've made big strides. I think probably these last 7 months have been my biggest strides. But yeah, as an amateur, like I said, I didn't ever look at it like I want to be this undefeated, because I had teammates that were 22-1 as amateurs, and they go be pros and they face a little adversity and it'd be tough for them. You know, I didn't care necessarily about what my record was. Obviously, I hate losing. I tell everyone I hate losing more than I like winning sometimes. So that was tough. But it showed me the level, you know, it showed me where I was at. It showed me, you know, I knew these guys were going to be successful pros that I had lost to. And it gives me a lot of confidence. I talked to Dalton to this day. You know, before COVID, we were trying to set up some training and stuff. You know, we get along pretty well. And I told him, I'm like, dude, going in this fight, you know, I've never had a fight where I felt like my opponent was going to be better than him. And I took that fight as an amateur. So it's been huge for my confidence that way as well. Knowing like, hey, you've been put through the kind of the trials and tribulations as an amateur that a lot of guys have never faced as a pro. So, like I said, I'm so new in the sport too that every fight I'm a different version of myself. I'm still trying to figure out my game. You know, I might throw something in one fight and then the next fight I forget about it because I'm trying to learn so much stuff. It's something I struggle with. Like in my second pro fight, I threw a bunch of leg kicks. Right, it was super effective with my leg kicks, and then I haven't thrown them since because I almost forgot about them. I went and worked on the next thing. So trying to remember everything that I'm working on, and incorporate it in the game, and then keep the older stuff that is tough for me. But yeah, I'm so new that every fight I feel like it's like a different person you see.
Yeah, well, you're constantly evolving, and that's a scary thought for who's stepping into the cage to compete against you. Now, I was actually cage side for Dalton's last fight when he finished Mark Gardner for Bellator. That guy is a beast, and you said you guys get along well now, and you might talk and do some training. Do you ever wish you might be able to get back that L or against Brian, or are you just kind of passive at this point?
So me and Brian are signed to the same management team. I want to get all my L's back. I like Dalton, but if they told me I could fight him tomorrow, I'd sign that line for sure. But you know, like I said, I hate losing. I hate people having it over me. But they did. You know, they beat me. They did what they had to do. I'm a much different fighter now, as are they. You know, we were amateurs. We were young. So it'd be cool for sure to run it back with them. But I think at this point, like, Dalton's doing big things in Bellator. I'm fighting for a Contender Series. You know, if we were to fight, it'd be later on down the road. And then with Brian, you know, Brian just won his last fight. He's like 3-1, so that could definitely be a fight that could happen down the road. You know, but yeah, I like both those guys. They're both good dudes. They work hard, you know. But yeah, I want to get all my L's back. Any L I ever took. Same with wrestling. Go back and wrestle some of those guys that beat me back in college if I could.
I figured that might be the answer, but I had to ask it anyways. Now, you talk about your wrestling background. Clearly, you know, that's where, you know, you started your MMA career there, right? But here you are, you know, you've got 5 wins as a pro. Let's see, I don't know how many, I think all of them are finishes, right? I mean, they're all
except for one. I had one decision.
Right, and that was Eric Lozano, right? So the first fight was a decision. You ended up getting a finish, and this was your last fight in February. So I got to imagine that must have been pretty gratifying to not get the finish and then go in and get him the second time.
For sure. You know, I thought I should have got the finish the first time. I wasn't active enough. I was kind of hard on myself. I'm my biggest critic, except for my wife. I'm my second biggest critic. But no, yeah, I told everyone, I was like, I'll finish this guy. It doesn't matter. And you know, that was the first fight where someone really talked a lot of crap to me and about me. And so that was something I was trying to deal with. And I was telling everyone, I'm like, listen, it was a fluke. You know, everybody was saying it was a fluke. I was like, it was a fluke because I've finished that kid 9 out of 10 times. You know, that was the one time he doesn't get finished. And I did. I finished him, which was gratifying and felt good because I felt that's my expectation. You know, I feel like, especially on the regional scene, I should be finishing people. I shouldn't be going to decision. You know, I feel like I'm at a higher level. I feel like I'm close to the UFC, and if you're that close to the UFC, you should be finishing guys on the regional scene. But yeah, I mean, I started with wrestling. You know, I wrestled since I was 8 years old. My first 2 years of wrestling, a lot of people don't know, I never won a match. I was like 0-30. I told my dad, I was like, I'm done with this. This sport's stupid. And he wouldn't let me quit. And so I stuck with it. And then obviously it worked out. You know, I went to college, got a scholarship, and then took top 12 in the country twice. So, and then, yeah, I think if I would have All-American, I tell everyone if I would have All-American, I probably would have been done competing. I would have felt satisfied. But since I was just short of being an All-American, I continued on to MMA, and then here we are now. So.
Why do you think you went 0-30? Is there a reason? Are you not fighting in the right weight class? Like, what's the? Because that's kind of surprising to hear.
I don't know. I was just a young kid. You know, I was like 8 years old, 8, 9, 10. I didn't really take it serious, and I was goofing with my friends all the time. And I don't know. I just didn't have very much maturity. I think that was my biggest issue, you know. And then also I was a late bloomer. You know, I weighed my junior year of high school. I was 145 pounds. So I was a smaller guy growing up, and then I kind of hit my growth spurts late, and now like I'm a bigger dude. I fight at 205, 185 pretty comfortably. So I think it was a combination of just mental maturity and then physical maturity as well. Once that kind of hit, you know, I kind of fell more in love with the sport too. Once I had success, and kind of propelled me to be. I typically am like 210. I don't want too much higher than 210. And, you know, for this fight, I wanted to be a little bigger because I know Williams a little bigger. You know, he's fought a heavyweight. He walks about 220, 225, I think. So I wanted to be a little bigger. But at the end of the day, you know, when I was in college, I wrestled heavyweight. So I've seen these big guys, big, strong guys. It's not really, it doesn't faze me too much. I like fighting at 205. I like being close to weight. I don't like cutting weight very much. I mean, nobody does, of course, but I really don't like it. And I've always found that I am less successful when I cut a lot of weight. That's why, you know, I've had coaches before tell me like, hey, you know, you could probably make 170 because there's guys at 170 that walk at 200, 210, but I'll never do it because I just think the payoff isn't worth it. You know, the risk isn't worth the reward. But yeah, I feel good at 205. 210 is like the max I want to be. Sometimes if I'm bigger, I just feel unathletic or slow or whatever. So I'm in a perfect place right now. I think I was 208 this morning when I woke up.
Do you think ultimately, you know, once you do get into the UFC, I know that's the goal, right? So would you maybe change your body a little bit and cut down to fight at 185? Or do you feel, you know, 205 is going to be your home moving forward?
I think I'm definitely going to go down to 85. Training with guys like Anthony and Dustin, you know, it's not so much the strength or the length or anything like that. It's more so the height. You know, I struggle with some guys that are like 6'4", 6'5", taller 205s. You know, they got those 78, 80-inch reach. I'm more built like a fire hydrant. You know, I'm short, I'm stout. I come in, I try to close distance. So, and 85 is not a bad cut for me. You know, it's mostly water. I fought there a few times in my career. It sucks in the moment, but I recover pretty well. I don't think it affects my performance too much. And when you're at the highest level, every, I guess, pound matters. I don't want to be, and I'm a decent size 85. I get in there at 85, I look like, okay, this guy's a big guy. At 205, it's like, okay, he could fight 205, but he's definitely a smaller guy for the weight class. That's part of the reason we said yes to this fight at 205 and didn't wait for an 85 to come, is because Williams only about 5'9". He's a shorter dude, which I thought was favorable for me. If he would have been 6'5", I don't know if I would have said yes.
Yeah. How tall are you?
6 foot. I tell everyone 6'1" though, so don't tell nobody.
All right, well, that'll be our secret unless anyone's watching this. As far as the matchup with William goes, he clearly has a lot of knockout power. I did see in a previous interview you said that he does get hit a lot and he can take a lot of damage and wear it well and kind of not show his poker face. So when you look at this matchup stylistically, is this one of those fights where you may just have to kind of wear him down over time, or do you think that you will be able to clip him and finish him? Because he has been finished once. He's 7-1 as a pro.
Yeah, I watched that finish. I'll give the guy credit. I don't think he was finished. I thought it was a pretty bad stoppage. I would be upset if it was me getting stopped that way. But yeah, he just breaks people. They give him all they got, and he eats it, and then he takes them down and wins. That Contender Series fight, he was losing that fight, comes back, wins the fight because the guy broke. He gassed himself out trying to finish him. And then his last fight I watched, it was a 1-1. It was one round going in the last third round, and the guy just kind of broke again. So the guy's definitely got power. I think his knockout total is kind of deceptive because he takes a lot of people down, finishes them on the ground. He's not really one-shot KOing too many people. He's not standing KOing too many people. Not that he can't. I mean, the guy's obviously a freak. He's got power, but it's a little deceptive. I got power too. I think anybody in the upper weight classes should have power. But yeah, I think his best quality is his composure, and he's a grinder. So this fight is going to be a straight grind. I'm a grinder. He's a grinder. He's a wrestling base. I'm a wrestling base. It's going to be kind of who can impose their will on the other person. We have such a similar style of, be explosive, be powerful, kind of manhandle your opponent to victory. So it's going to be a clash of the same thing. I think my wrestling is better. I think maybe he might have a strength advantage. Obviously, he's huge. The guy looks like Hercules. But I think I have the speed advantage. I think I have the athleticism advantage, the cardio advantage. So, like I said, I think there's a lot of things that play in my favor as long as I don't come outside myself. I've said in a few interviews before, I think Dana White Contender Series really has people come outside themselves, act a little different than they would. I think there's so much pressure to get a finish, or there's so much pressure to do something flashy that people forget you have to win to get the contract.
Yeah.
So I think big thing is just stay within myself and trust my game plan, really.
I mean, you even saw in last week's show, like all 5 winners got contracts. I mean, he was like Oprah out there just giving contracts away to everyone.
I was shocked. I was really shocked by some of the contracts he gave, and it gave me a lot of hope. I'm like, well, shit, man, he's giving them to everybody. They need people right now, but I don't know. Then he said he got back from vacation, so note to self: send Dana on vacation and go on the show.
There you go. Well, I mean, do you feel like a quality win over William here would grant you the contract? Because even if you don't get the finish, which everyone knows that's what they're looking for, but you go out, you beat a guy that has a developmental deal already with them, and you beat him soundly, that should kind of prove that you're worthy of a roster spot, right?
For sure, I would think so. I mean, the UFC is kind of crazy. It's just kind of flavor of the month, especially with this show, but my outlook on it is if this guy beat me and did a very good job beating me, I would be shocked if he didn't get a contract. So if I go in there and do the same to him, I think I can get a contract. I think too, people are going to look at my record, see how long I've been fighting, and that's going to be the holdup. People are going to be like, well, he's been a pro for a year and a half. He's only fought 6, he's got 6 wins, and I don't know, so it's so fickle sometimes with all the other extra whatever. So I don't know. I think I deserve a contract if I go out there, have a good performance, beat this guy. I don't think a lot of people are necessarily expecting me to win. I think most of my fights I go in, I'm not the underdog. So that's kind of an odd place for me to be. I'm definitely the underdog in this fight because this guy's a little more well-known. He's been on the show before. He's got finishes before. So I'm excited to kind of come in as the underdog with no pressure and then beat the guy that's got all the hype. I think we're main event for this fight. We're not main event because of Cody Brundage. We're main event because of William Knight, the Hercules-looking Greek guy. So he's got all the pressure on him. I go in and dominate him the way I think I can, and I don't see why I don't deserve a contract.
Yeah, well, that's well put. Now, I know that they've been doing a lot of like testing ahead of time, like via Zoom, right, where you have to take the test while watching you. How many times have they done that thus far, and what is the plan with that moving forward?
I haven't had to do it yet. I heard my coach was talking about it today, actually, so that's the first time I've heard of that. I tested when I went out there and did all my pre-fight stuff, and obviously that was negative. I think that's almost more scary than the fight. You fly out there and they test you twice. So they test you the day you get there. You quarantine, and then you can, I guess, go around and see people, whatever. And then the day before, or the weigh-in day, they test you again, and you quarantine until your fight. So I think they're pretty extensive with their tests. I don't know about the Zoom yet. I have heard that, so I don't know if that's going to be something I have to do or how that's going to work. I know that our coach was struggling to even get the test. They're like, all right, we'll do the Zoom. He's like, well, I don't even have the equipment. So we'll see what happens with it. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, the bubble they have. Like when I was out there for the pre-filming stuff, it was like everything was shut down. You couldn't move. I went downstairs to grab some food or something, and the security there's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, I'm not abandoned, I promise.
Yeah, it's definitely wild times that we're living in right now. I know when I was just at the Bellator event, it wasn't like what you see for the UFC where they stick it like way up your nose or way down your throat. It was a Q-tip that they would move around for 10 seconds in each nostril, and then you put it in a vial and they close it. So it was different. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Hopefully that's what you get.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better to me. I was happy that they did the tongue swab. I saw all these guys out in Abu Dhabi getting it up in their brain. I was not a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. So official prediction, man, how do you see yourself getting your hand raised and getting this, I know, well-deserved contract?
I think it's going to be a grind. I think it might be a slow start. But I think I finish. I do think I get the finish. I think by submission, probably late second, third round. I think my grind is going to be too much. My cardio is going to be too much. And my wrestling is going to be too much. He's a good wrestler, but I know for me, if I'm getting out wrestled, that's my bread and butter. I'm in trouble. I'll panic. I'll struggle with that. I think it gets it done second, like I said, late second, early third. Yeah, I think the submission victory for sure.
Well, Cody, I appreciate the time. I can't wait for this fight, man. I really have my eyes specifically on this one. I think it could be the fight of the night here. Maybe the fight of the season. We'll see. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate the time. Before I let you go, anyone you want to thank, any sponsors you may have, the floor is yours.
I want to thank my wife because she puts up with me every day and she's pregnant. So extra kudos to her. Yeah, that's it really right now. Go Cleveland Productions. They've been with me since the start. Landau Performance, it's my strength and conditioning. They've really got me right for this camp. And then obviously all my teammates and friends over at Factory X, Coach Mark, Anthony, all those guys, I really appreciate them.